All right, everybody, welcome to BO Boys for Monday, February 20th. F it, it's a raw feed. We're doing it live on President's Day. I'm Clayton.
I'm Pat, and there was one chief, commander in chief at the box office this President's Day weekend, and it was not Marlowe. I'll spoil that. Marlowe was not in the box office Oval Office this weekend. But Clayton, why don't you give us a President's Weekend plow and let us know who our commander in chief at the box office was?
Okay, well, I'm going to do the 3-day here, and then we can talk a little bit about Ant-Man's supposed 4-day.
Okay.
Which the final numbers are not in, but we're calling them.
Yeah, we're calling it on this Monday morning.
Number 1, Ant-Man and the Wasp, QUANTUMANIA made $104 million in its debut. Number 2, Avatar, The Way of Water made $6.1 million, down only 15%. It lost 390 theaters. It's at $657 million in its 10th weekend. Number 3, Magic Mike's Last Dance made $5.5 million, down 33%. It added 1,538 theaters. It's at $18.1 million in its second weekend. Number 4, Puss in Boots, The Last Wish made $5.2 million, down only 6%. It lost 215 theaters. It's at $166 million in its 9th weekend. Number 5, Knock at the Cabin made $3.9 million, down 28%. It lost 1,000 theaters, and it is at $30.3 million in its 3rd weekend. That is your top 5.
All right. So, Clayton, there's one movie that we got to talk about on this show. I think we got to devote most of our show to this one movie, and that movie is a new movie, and that movie is, of course, Marlowe. So let's get into it, Clayton. Did Marlowe do what you expected it to do this weekend? Let's get the Marlowe talk started.
Well, I mean, Marlowe opened to number 8, $1.9 million in the weekend, higher than I expected. I thought this was Armageddon time, so I thought it'd be under $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
And in its run, because it opened on Wednesday, it's made 2.6. So if you put all that together, I mean, that's kind of where we are at with these sort of Liam Neeson movies.
Right.
Bit lower, but lower because this is a period piece, which is always hard to sell based on books that I don't know even the generation that's going to see Liam Neeson movies is familiar with.
Right.
And I think this is a departure for him, weirdly, in a way that was not successful.
Yeah, it seems like this was a lark. It seems like Liam Neeson can do whatever the F he wants at Open Road. Open Road just has an open pocketbook when it comes to Liam Neeson. And this is what Liam Neeson wanted to do. And his fan base came out in a bigger way than we would expect. It really shows that the Liam Neeson peeps will follow Liam Neeson almost anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this was higher than I expected. So let's take some phone calls now. We're talking Marlowe for this whole hour, of course. So we've got someone on the line. Wait, I'm hearing, actually, Clayton, I'm hearing from some callers. They don't want to talk about Marlowe. Marlowe was not the most important box office story of today.
I got it. I know what they want to talk about.
Okay.
They want to talk about number 12, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
Okay, let's get into it. So Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey opened this weekend. The Winnie the Pooh IP is now
in the public
domain.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone can make Winnie the Pooh content, and some company, Fathom, it was a Fathom event, but there is a company that went out and immediately, as soon as that copyright came out, made a Winnie the Pooh horror movie. How did that do at the box office, Clayton? We're talking Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey this week on the BO Boys.
So this weekend it made $679,000 in 434 theaters, but it is standing at 1.5 million. So listen, This thing is a cheapie beyond cheapie.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
looks like trash.
Yes.
It is trash,
Yes. Yes.
and blatantly so. I don't
Yes.
think the makers of this film were attempting high art. This is not even Terrifier level of I have a low budget, but I'm a master of my craft.
Right. Right.
This is a cheapy sort of, you could see this as an asylum movie. You know, this would be a knockoff movie that you would find deep, deep at the bottom of a Walmart DVD bin.
Right.
And they were able to open this in theaters. Now, I will say, I looked to see if there was any showings here in New York, and I found one showing of this
Okay.
film in New York, not in a theater that any of us go to, if you get my drift.
Oh wow. Are we
Yeah.
talking quad cinemas level?
No. We're just talking not a theater we frequent.
Not a theater we frequent. Okay, interesting.
So in other words, this is not for the cultural coastal elites.
Okay.
This movie is going to be playing in other areas, but listen, that's what you need to have a fully rounded box office. So I applaud these scammers
Yes.
for making this piece of crap and putting it out and getting a release.
Yes. That is what this was. This was basically a movie that came about because of a flaw in the legal system. Or not a flaw, but a quirk in the legal system that was exploited by businessmen, lawyers, and someone who I guess knew how to use a phone camera and edit on Final Cut Pro.
Maybe knew how to use it.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not. I mean, yes, I've seen promotion material for this movie, and it looks like a guy walking around his backyard in a mask from the Halloween shop.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that is what this movie looks like. But like you said, it has made somebody rich. You know, Pooh, Blood, and Honey is paying off someone's mortgage because they found this quirk in the copyright, or paying off gamblers.
Or yeah, I was gonna say it staved off the bookies for another few weeks, and definitely these people behind this are going to screw it up.
Yeah.
There's no way they're gonna pay off this money. They're gonna wanna come out ahead.
Right. The Pooh, Blood, and Honey money, they're taking that to Atlantic City or a foreign equivalent of Atlantic City, you know, not the A gambling town. They're taking it to the B town.
Or they're putting it all on Andrea Riseborough for Best Actress.
Yes. So that's, you know, this is an interesting box office story. So let's go to the switchboard. Let's get some callers in. Callers, we're talking Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, the big box office story of this weekend. So let me get a call. I've got someone from Ozone Park in here, wants to talk Pooh, Blood, and Honey. No, wait, actually, that person hung up, and everyone on the phone lines is saying they want to talk a different movie this weekend at the weekend box office. They don't want to talk Pooh, Blood, and Honey. They want to talk something else, Clayton.
Wow, I'm lost as to what this could be. I mean, could people want to talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania?
I mean, let's give it a try. Let's see if that lights up the switchboard. So let's just talk about the number one movie at the box office. It was Marvel's Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. It made $104 million in the 3-day weekend domestically. Estimates are it made 115 plus for the 4-day, but that 104 3-day, Clayton, on our weekend preview episode, we both went under 100 million domestic in our predictions. And let's give it up now for David Thompson of The Direct. He writes for The Direct. He's on The Direct podcast. He was our guest. He predicted this. He said over 100 million domestic. David, you're the expert for a reason. You know your stuff. So congratulations. So Clayton, as this weekend was progressing, and it seemed like this movie, the first estimates were 100 million on Saturday morning. Then it went up to 104 by Sunday, and that's what we're calling now on this Monday morning, 104. What were your thoughts? Are you surprised to see this now?
I mean, no, because it was always going to be close. I mean, this thing was never going to reach its initial tracking, which was 120. In the 3-day, right? I mean, that was never going to happen. It was just a matter of, could it make 95 or will it make 105? Like it was
Mhm.
in that weird area. I didn't think this thing was going to make like 60 or like 80. I knew it was probably going to make in the 90s,
Mhm.
but I didn't think it was going to make 100. And you know what? Good for Ant-Man, good for theatrical.
Yep.
Uh, I mean, we'll get into it, but this is going to have a very short shelf life, like all the Marvel movies tend to have now,
Mhm.
in the sense that it's probably going to drop like a rock next weekend because the exit scores are equivalent to Eternals, which
Yeah.
is pretty bad because the
Mhm.
Eternals was unwatchable. And this movie looks at least like there's a few things maybe to go see it for.
It definitely looks like a movie that has issues, we'll say. Creative issues.
This movie,
Yes,
oh,
yes.
yeah.
This
I mean,
Ant-Man and Quantumania. Not no, we're off Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
yeah, well, absolutely. But what I'm saying is that Eternals also had issues. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, this movie looked more along the lines of what is palatable for the Marvel fanboy.
Yes,
You
yes.
know, so
It's a movie that seems to be based around, hey, there's this character that we're introducing that you've got to care about. So,
yeah.
come to this for that.
And I want to speak really quickly to why I think this movie succeeded in its first weekend.
Right?
And so let's look at these demos real fast, and then we'll
Mm-hmm.
get into what my theory is.
Mm-hmm.
So 65% men, right? 64 between 18 and 34.
Mm-hmm.
Really diverse, which is great. 34% Caucasian, 31% Latina Hispanic, 17% Black, and 12% Asian. So men over 25 was the
Mm-hmm.
leading. So it was 39%. And then men under 25, 25%. Women over 25 was 20%. And women under 25 was 15%.
Mm-hmm.
So also, those who came with either a kid or a parent repped 24% of the audience. So
Wow.
that's great. 18% came with a friend, 17% with two or more friends, and 11% with a date. So this doesn't feel like too much of a date movie. Now, all of this is to say,
Mm-hmm.
young men.
Just one question. How many of those people who 18% came with a friend, 11% came with a date? I feel like there was 18% of those who came with a friend. Some of that percent thought they were on a date, and the other person knew they were not on a date. We were on a friend. Sometimes those exit surveys can really shock one of the people in a pair.
Oh, but
You
it's
know,
usually the female in the pair.
is the one who knows we're coming as friends, and the other guy's like,
Yes.
I thought we were in the 11% that were on a date. She's like, no, we're in the 18% that
Yeah.
are here as friends.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So here's the thing, what I
Mhm.
was about to say, but that's a great point that you bring up.
Yeah.
64% or 65% guys,
Mhm.
men, young men especially, tend to be loyal to franchises and brands and even like musical bands past the
Mm.
point of actually enjoying them,
Yes.
right? Women are less loyal to pop culture
Mm.
because they will like something and then realize that it's not for them anymore and walk away from it.
Mhm.
Men have a problem with that. It's hard for them to do that. So that's why this movie, even with an equivalent cinema score to The Eternals, a movie that is widely hated, they still came out and saw this film, right? And I
Mm.
know, listen, you put the scores are after, but people know what the movie is on Friday morning now.
Mhm.
They
Mhm.
know what they're getting into, and
Mhm.
they still went.
Mhm.
They will be loyal to Marvel to the point of absurdity. So every time I go low on Marvel, I have to remember these fans are loyal past the point of enjoying.
Right.
So they will go see anything. Now, not at the level, and that's why you're not getting and you won't get these big end game numbers ever again, because that was not just fanboys, that was everybody. That was a cultural thing.
Mhm.
These movies are now just going to be a large group of fans, but they're going to be on the rabbit side because I really feel like Marvel no longer has anything for the casual fan.
it's so, I mean, these movies have become so steeped in the mythology and just, with the multiverse storyline post Endgame, they have become so confusing to
Mhm.
the casual fan, and now that you have to watch the TV shows to fully understand the movies, it definitely has become an FTF situation. Obviously, with Marvel, the fan base is gigantic. So
Mhm.
something like Quantumania is opening to 104 domestic in a 3-day. It's a gigantic, F, but it is still FTF. These are very much for the fans. I mean, I would bet that if you would have looked at that percentage of how many people went there on a date for Endgame or for a Spider-Man film, it's a much higher than 11%. I think now, like you said, it's the fan base, the more heavily male fan base, and they're going there alone. Whereas a
Mhm.
couple of years ago, they're getting dates and bigger groups to go see these Marvel movies with them.
Yes. Now, let's just look a little bit here about why people came out. So, in the Deadline article, must read every weekend,
Yes.
obviously, Anthony D'Alessandro, D stands for Disney. 25% of the audience said they came out for Jonathan Majors' Kang,
Okay.
not Jonathan Majors. So,
Right.
that's the distinction. Not for a budding possible movie star,
Right.
but because of a character that
Right.
this person plays, right?
Right.
While 54% said it's part of a franchise they love, which
Mm,
could mean Ant-Man, could mean Marvel in general, but 41% said it's because of it's a Marvel movie, right? So
right.
41% said it's my duty. I have to. Time to punch in.
Yes.
Like this has
Yes.
become the new sort of factory work where it's like, I gotta get my eyeballs on this Ant-Man. Punch in, punch out. Got to
Right.
make sure
Right.
I stay for the stingers or I don't get, or people would be mad
Overtime.
at me. Yeah, I
Yeah.
won't
Yeah.
get
That.
clicks.
Yeah. Yeah. That's sort of the holiday pay
Mm-hmm.
is staying for the stingers, and you feel it in the way that people talk about Marvel movies now. So, oh, did you see it? Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, I got it done. Are you getting it done this weekend? Yeah, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm off. I think I have Sunday afternoon. I'll be able to get it done on Sunday. I hear a lot of like, I'll get it done when you hear people talking about Marvel movies, akin to, oh, I've got to get to that spreadsheet at work, or I've
You,
got to,
you know what it's
got to
become,
make
Pat?
those widgets. I'll get to those widgets later. I'll make them on Sunday.
I got the perfect analogy here.
Let's hear it.
It's church.
Hmm.
It's church.
It's
Because
church.
listen,
It's not
there
work.
are
It's church.
there are people who are super into religion, and good for them,
Right.
who
Good.
are
Yes.
thoroughly engaged in the services of mass or church or the
Yeah.
synagogue or what have you.
Yeah. Yeah. The Thetans, whatever it is. It's all equally great.
Yeah, yeah. But most people,
Hmm.
most people I know, and that I have experienced this myself,
Right.
church is something that you do because you feel like you have to do it. You got to show your face. You
Right.
got to be able to talk at the pancake breakfast about what the sermon was about.
Right.
And that's what these Marvel.
Right.
You got to be there because people are expecting it, and you got to be able to talk about, oh yeah, and then this like Modoc showed up. Remember Modoc? Yeah, it was cool. I
Right.
guess it looked
That
kind of stupid, but whatever. But like, you have to be there.
and are you talking about church or Marvel? Like honestly, I could be swayed either way that Modoc is a character in the MCU or a character in the Old Testament.
I mean, I haven't read every book of the Bible, so I don't know.
Right. Right. That is a good analogy. Listen, we're not. I feel like we're coming off here negative on a movie that made 104 million. We're glad it made it. These
Mm-hmm.
Marvel movies are a necessity for the box office for the life of theatrical. We do need 2 to 3 of these per year, and we need them to continue working on some level. And Quantumania still worked. People went to church. They went to the widget factory this weekend. They did their duty. They saw Quantumania, even though they didn't seem to like it. A
Mm-hmm.
B cinema score is basically like getting an F in real school.
Yes.
When people come out of a Marvel movie and say that was just a B, They are disappointed. They are disappointed not just because they thought they were there on a date and they were actually there with a friend. They are disappointed because they did not like the movie that much. So it is interesting that so much of the audience said they were coming out to see Kang, which is a character that has only appeared, obviously he was a comic book character, but only appeared in a Marvel show. I can't even tell you which one. I think Loki. I think
It
David
was
Thompson said
Loki.
Loki. So that really shows how much for the fans this is, because this character, Kang, is not Joker, obviously. Kang is not, saying that the Penguin is going to be in a movie, or even Thanos before Thanos, someone that a general public may have heard of through the grapevine. Kang is someone that, unless you are a Marvel comic book super fan or a watcher of the shows, that means nothing to the guy working on a construction site, to the woman working on a construction site, to the person working on a construction site. That character means nothing. So it shows that this was for the fans, but I guess also it does show that, listen, Disney did a great job promoting this film.
Well, they spent
They
so
spent
much money.
so much money. And this is what you have to do.
Yeah.
I mean, we were sitting here a week ago taking roasting Zaslav and Warner Brothers over the coals for not promoting Magic Mike. You want to make money, you got to spend money, and Disney spent money on ads. They spent a lot of money on television spots.
Oh yeah.
So I'm looking,
this everywhere.
It seems like I'm seeing that they spent 23 million just on television spots. Let me find that real quick.
Yep. I'm staring right at it. 23 million, which is around the same spend for Avatar: The Way of Water.
Wow.
And more than No Way Home.
Wow.
But slightly under Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
Wow. And more than Doctor Strange. So Disney spent big money, yielded 1.3 billion impressions across all of these TV networks. And Disney, of course, owns ABC and ESPN and a lot of networks, so that helps. There was a synergy, a special look of Ant-Man 3 on the hit show Abbott Elementary. So there you go. Sitcoms are still able to have a role in society. Even in 2023, Abbott Elementary did a great job pushing Ant-Man 3 with a synergistic special look. Disney Channel, that still exists, and they were able to push the co-lead of this movie, Catherine Newton, across their platforms. And this is interesting. Disney had blitz days for Ant-Man 3 targeting women, according to deadlines, as moms are the drivers of family picks such as these. And they did paid digital support on Bustle and TikTok, Hulu, Spotify, Pop Sugar takeovers, and then spots across Femme Heavy. And Femme Heavy is a technical business term in showbiz. Femme Heavy channels such as Bravo, E, and MTV. So Clayton, you're sitting there and you're watching your ridiculousness marathon, 74 straight hours of ridiculousness, sandwiched around one episode of Jersey Shore Reunion, and you're getting nonstop Ant-Man 3 promos. So MTV is still something that gets some human beings to leave their house.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, also then, are we going to go into the cross promo?
You want to go into the promotional partnerships here?
Yeah.
I mean, let's do it. Let's do our people love this segment when the BO boys talk about promotional partners for big movies. And my God, did Ant-Man and Quantumania have some promotional partners? So Heineken, I mean, that's the big one. That's the one that we saw Super Bowl ads in which Ant-Man was drinking a non-alcoholic Heineken. Clayton, is this your favorite one? I mean, this is the big one, I think. There's a lot, but the Heineken non-alcoholic spot for Ant-Man was huge. Did you love this spot, this promotional partnership?
I mean, listen, the thing about this spot, which is interesting to me, is that you have a superhero drinking non-alcoholic beer,
Mm-hmm.
which is interesting because nobody drinks non-alcoholic beer unless they used to drink a lot of real beer.
Okay.
Right. So it's an interesting, like, is this canon that this guy had such a bad drinking problem that at this point he has to drink non-alcoholic beer in order to still try to get a little bit of the high he used to get
Right.
when he would go out and tie one on
Right.
and not be
Right.
heard from for days to weeks to months.
Right.
That felt interesting to me to have that be part of your character's backstory.
Yeah, the promotional spot itself, the Super Bowl ad, did not have that underlying darkness to it.
It was there. It was there.
But it was there. You're right. If you thought about it for more than a second, you're right. It's there. And the character of Ant-Man, the character that Paul Rudd plays in these Ant-Man films, he is a former thief. Before he got the suit that let him be big or small, he was a thief. And listen, I'm not trying to say all thieves are drunks, but I'm sure there is some crossover there between people with a drinking problem and people who are professional thieves.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it would make sense that the character of Ant-Man used to be a thief. He used to have a drinking problem. He's kicked being a thief. He's kicked drinking. And now he's drinking Heineken's first ever non-alcoholic beer on the Super Bowl. It's a big step for everyone. It's a big step for Ant-Man and for Heineken. So good.
I just feel like
them.
how long is that going to last, really?
Well, I mean, listen, we also don't
Before
know
you
this.
say one real Heineken's not going to hurt anybody.
Right. Well, listen, Ant-Man 3 is over. We don't know if we'll get an Ant-Man 4, but maybe if there is an Ant-Man 4, we'll then get crossover spots with Ant-Man and Heineken's, alcoholic beer, and then see where those ads go. See what happens.
He'd be like,
then.
I've given up.
Right. I've
Ant-Man
given up.
doesn't give an F anymore.
Yeah. And he drinks a Heine live on the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because they're doing live commercials at that point.
And he says, I don't care if the Marvel movies are struggling.
Right.
I want to kiss you.
Yeah. That would be a huge, huge promotional crossover.
Yes.
For Ant-Man
if next
4.
year at the Super Bowl, Ant-Man tries to kiss Susie Colbert.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there. So let's move on to Volkswagen touted their all new electric ID4 vehicle with an Ant-Man crossover. So that's big.
So he's loaded up with non-alcoholic beer.
Right.
And he's going to drive he's just going to go out driving this electric car.
Right. So hopefully it's in self-driving mode.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I haven't watched this spot, but I feel like if you've got an electric car, you've probably got some version of a self-driving mode. So hopefully Ant-Man is making use of that if he's moved off of the Heine non-alcoholic beers at this point. So that's big. Volkswagen getting in the Ant-Man business, getting in the Marvel business. Lots of people drive Volkswagens, and if they're going to think of Ant-Man when they drive, maybe they'll drive this new electric car to the movie theater. ZipRecruiter, Clayton, it's not just for podcast ads anymore. It is also for Marvel crossover promotional spots on television. So centered around the PIM Foundation, ZipRecruiter helps Ant-Man recruit high-level candidates to work at the PIM Foundation. Is this the kind of spot that Marvel wants to be doing? ZipRecruiter to me is so heavily centered around podcast advertising. This feels more like a step up for ZipRecruiter than it feels like a step up for the Marvel
Yeah, it
franchise.
feels like Ant-Man's doing a MeUndies commercial. He's doing a
Hmm.
MailChimp commercial. He's
Right,
doing Manscaped.
right, right.
So it does feel like they are stooping very low.
Yeah, Dollar Shave Club is Ant-Man going to start saying, use your spread Pim particles on your face before you use the Dollar Shave Club.
1-800 flowers.
Right, right. Yeah, I don't love this one. I would hope ZipRecruiter paid Marvel more than the other way around to make this happen. I don't love that Ant-Man got into the ZipRecruiter business. It's not a luxury premium brand.
And also Ant-Man is a felon, so it'd be very difficult for him to find a job.
Yeah, there's that too. There is that too. I mean, I feel like with these Ant-Man promotional spots, they're really ignoring a lot of
Mm-hmm.
Ant-Man's past when they do these spots, but it's all in there for those who could read it. It's there. He's a felon. He had a drinking problem. He wouldn't be allowed on the ZipRecruiter platform. Listen, I've never used ZipRecruiter. I don't know actually if they don't let you use it if you are a registered felon. Maybe they do. I don't know.
It's all bots. Any of
Right.
those job finding sites, they're all just people looking to get your personal information.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, not a I don't know. I think we both are in agreement. Ant-Man starting to do podcast level promotional partners is not where they should be heading. So Tax Act.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, I guess it's a service that helps you do your taxes, but it is not TurboTax. So TurboTax, to me, that's the gold standard of services that will do your taxes for you online.
Yeah.
Because you don't consider doing your taxes to be that important. So you use TurboTax, but Tax Act getting into it. And again, I don't love that if Marvel was going to get into the tax filing promotional partnership business, why didn't they go right for the luxury brand, which is TurboTax?
Maybe TurboTax didn't want to be involved with Ant-Man the Wasp Quantumania because they knew that it was not up to the quality of a movie that TurboTax would want to promote. Listen, that's a possibility here. They're like,
Wow.
could we wait for a movie that's actually liked in a quality Marvel film before we put our name on it? I mean, here's the thing, though. Again, we've already said going to a Marvel movie feels like it's work or church. It also feels like doing your taxes.
Right. I don't think that was and again, I haven't watched this spot, but I don't think that was the theme of the spot, that going to see a Marvel movie is as rote but necessary as doing your taxes. So do both at the same time. Do your taxes with Tax Act and see Marvel's Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania and get them both over with before April.
Yeah.
I don't think that was the theme of this Tax Act spot. But yeah, maybe TurboTax is just waiting until they could do a promotional partnership for Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Yes, that's the one that TurboTax should invest in.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Tax Act got in because of the low Rotten Tomato score and the low expected audience scores for Ant-Man, and they were able to sneak in there and snag this spot. So those are some of the big ones. Are there any other?
IHOP? You're forgetting IHOP.
Now, are you an IHOP guy, Clayton?
No.
Not an
I care
IHOP
about
guy.
my body.
Okay, so you've never been an IHOP guy. You've never been someone who, well, you've never lived on the road. You are not road comic.
No. Well, I mean, back in the day, if I were to go to a place like this, like an IHOP, it'd be a Denny's.
Yeah.
Back in the dark days of like college when I ate like garbage.
Right.
You go to a Denny's.
Right. Right. But back when we had the bodies of Adonises and could just burn that off, we could eat Denny's 5 times a day if we wanted, and it would just fall right off.
Yeah, if I go to IHOP now, I'd have to go straight to my doctor afterwards.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And
My
that would be
lipo
a problem.
doctor.
Who you have on call.
Yeah.
He's always got the vacuum ready to go.
He's always got the vacuum ready to go, the cold sculpting. It all happens immediately.
Right. And he's always awake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, he's on a lot of pills.
So IHOP getting into business with Ant-Man. I like this spot. Listen, I get it. I get what you're saying, that if we were to go to IHOP, we'd immediately have to get a sucking machine put on our bellies.
Mm-hmm.
But IHOP and Ant-Man feels like it makes sense. IHOP is the premium brand in the pancake restaurant business.
Mm-hmm.
It is, it's the TurboTax of the waffle and pancake group, and it's family oriented, or it has that perception of being family oriented. You could see the family of 6 sitting around they're just stacking pancakes, and all the kids are just grabbing them with their hands and pouring syrup with their hands, and it's disgusting, but it's family oriented. So I like this partnership for Ant-Man. I like him getting in the IHOP business.
I think not so much even families, but young males is the driving force for these Marvel movies, and this is what young males eat.
Yeah,
they eat pancakes and hash browns and eggs and bacon, and then a burger, and then fries, and then top it off with a sort of pancake dessert.
Right.
I mean, something that has chocolate syrup on it, and whipped cream, and chocolate chips, and sprinkles, or jimmies, whichever they prefer to call it. I don't know regionally where this person is at.
Right.
But that's the sort of person who could eat something like that, and not have to immediately go to their lipo doctor.
Right. And they were eating it at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, sometimes 5 o'clock in the morning, because this is after a long night of partying.
Yeah.
And getting into business and having Heineken old fashioned, not Heineken non-alcoholic. And then they're heading to the IHOP, and then they see a little paper placard on the table that reminds them, Ant-Man and Quantumania, do your duty this weekend, get it over with.
Yeah.
And as they eat that stack of pancakes and the pancake stack goes down, they could then see the advertisement for Ant-Man, and the group of guys says, oh yeah, why don't we do this weekend? Let's see if we could get some dates and see the Ant-Man movie. And then of course they each show up solo.
Yeah,
of course.
Well, IHOP offered fans the chance to receive a movie ticket.
Wow.
So there was some sort of movie ticket giveaway, which, listen, anything to get people into theaters, honestly, at this point.
Yeah. And anything to get people eating pancakes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
People might have gone to get pancakes to get that ticket.
Right. There's definitely people who ate pancakes that they didn't plan on eating, didn't want to eat, definitely didn't need to eat.
Yeah.
But they ate those pancakes so that they could get a ticket, so that they could get it over with and see the new Marvel movie.
Just like, I gotta see Kang. Oh, I gotta stuff it in. I gotta just eat the rest of these pancakes, because you had to clean your plate. You don't get a ticket unless you clean your plate.
Oh no, the waitress is there watching you. She's dangling one ticket for Ant-Man, and she's saying, oh, that it wasn't enough pancake yet. You've got to eat, and then just plops another stack down. You've got to eat this stack.
You've got to lick up all the chocolate sauce too.
Yeah.
You left the chocolate chip. Come on, eat that chip.
She makes you open your mouth and just pours syrup into your gullet to get that one ticket for Ant-Man. And it is one ticket. You are going alone. You are not in the 11% that was there on a date. If you earned your Ant-Man ticket through drinking syrup poured by a waitress straight into your mouth, that's one ticket.
And you better believe it's a non-PLF ticket.
No. Well, let's talk about PLFs. Let's talk about how
they're
Ant-Man
back for other movies.
Yeah. Well, you're saying that it's no more Avatar Way of Water having every PLF.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, that helped Ant-Man 3 as well. And of course, that was never going to stand that they had all of them when a movie like this comes out.
No. I mean, listen, they're all owned by Disney.
Yeah.
So in the end, it is Disney deciding who gets these IMAXs, and they spaced Ant-Man and Avatar Way of Water out far enough that Way of Water got him for months and months, and now Ant-Man got him. And boy, did it help. Ant-Man made 12.2 million domestic off of just IMAX auditoriums, and that accounted for 10% of the 4-day take for Ant-Man and the Wasp. For Ant-Man and Quantumania. So this is double. Part 3 of Ant-Man did double the IMAX business in opening weekend that part 2 Ant-Man and the Wasp did. So
yeah, I feel like IMAX is PLFs and IMAX are coming into their own in a way now because of your Mavericks and your avatars. And I do think that that's the way people, I mean, we're going to have a great example of this. Creed 3, which is opening in a few weeks, is a movie that was shot in IMAX for IMAX. And it's a boxing film. It's not a film you would think, oh, well, this has to be an IMAX.
Right.
People are using this technology to make the best experience they can, and you can't get the IMAX equivalent anywhere else but in theaters, right?
Yes.
So, and Anthony D'Alessandro, he's for Disney, says in this one of his write-ups here that they gotta open more PLFs, more premium screens, which is something we've been banging that drum forever. Because listen, Avatar was the number 2 movie in America after 10 weeks. And if all those showings were on PLFs, people would go see them. Right. Like, that's the thing, is like, there's got to be enough for every movie to maximize itself.
Yes.
Every movie that should be on IMAX. Obviously, you're not going to go see Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey on IMAX, but
that would look horrifying.
But also, there should be an opportunity. Why not?
Right.
At least one showing of Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. You should be able to see Marlowe on IMAX. I mean, like, these are things you should be able to do.
Yeah.
Because there are psychos who would do that.
Yes.
And when I say psycho, I mean that's a positive thing. Good,
hard-working fans of theatrical movie business.
Yes.
AKA also psychos, but good psychos.
But it's great. Good psychos.
Yeah.
Good
I
psychos
mean,
too, on both sides.
Listen, they need to build more PLFs, more IMAXs. Something like Quantumania probably would have added millions more in its opening weekend if there were IMAXs available in every town in America, which there should be. You should not have to drive more than, 15 minutes to be able to find an IMAX near you. And I am sure there are parts of the country that are IMAX deserts that you're crossing state lines, hours and hours. You need to have money to stay at a hotel to be able to go see an IMAX. And that is horrible. And in 2023, that should not be how we live in this country.
Absolutely. Listen, I'd say everybody should have clean water, right? In this country. We're America. Everybody should have clean water.
Everybody, yes.
But it's not going to happen. But what could happen is an IMAX.
Everyone should have everyone should have,
because I'm a realist. I'm a realist.
Yeah.
But I'm also listen, I want everybody to have clean water.
Yes.
I'm not saying that I don't want everybody to have clean water, and I think everybody should have clean water, and I'm saying that definitively.
Yes.
Christopher, Wannabe intern, if you want to quote me on that, if you want this to be the pull quote from this episode, I'm saying that everybody should have clean water. But what I'm also saying is that the possibilities of that are lower than getting an IMAX, because an IMAX is, hey, let's go build this and then we're out.
Right. There's less maintenance, you're saying, on building an IMAX than there is on
making sure everybody in America has clean water. Absolutely.
Well, here's the thing. Matt Damon should be working on both, because Matt Damon
Mm-hmm.
has been doing lots of great work for years now through his charities, getting clean water to places that don't have clean water, which is, we applaud him for that. But
Absolutely.
we also applaud Matt Damon for his box office over the years. The
Yes.
Martian, The Departed, many, many films, all of the Bourne movies. He should also be making sure that places around the country have access to clean IMAXs,
Because he's
clean
already
PLFs.
visiting. He's already there, and he
He's
sees the
already,
lack of IMAX as
and
well as the
he's
lack of
got
clean
the
water.
infrastructure. He's got the charitable infrastructure. He knows how
Yeah.
to bring in the donations. So do both, Matt Damon.
Mm-hmm.
Get us clean water, because as we both say, that is, everyone should have clean water, and everyone
Yes.
should have access to IMAXs so they could see Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania on IMAX, because it's clear people want to.
Yes.
You know, that the hunger, and they hunger for IMAXs, they thirst for IMAXs. It's grown because this movie made twice as much in IMAX as the second film in the series.
Mm-hmm.
IMAXs are more known to general audiences, I think partly because of, like you said, Maverick, Avatar: Way of Water, but also partly because of the BO Boys. We've been, since the show started, IMAXs have been a big topic on this show, and I think that has made more people aware of the existence of IMAX and premium screens.
Oh, yeah.
gotta build
PLFs in
more.
general. Did you ever hear anybody say PLF in a normal conversation before us? I'm hearing
No.
people throwing PLF out all the time now on the street.
Right. And it's because the BO Boys talk about it, and we are broadcast worldwide. Listen, every town in America, every town in the world has access to the BO Boys.
Yeah.
You could be listening to the BO Boys on a farm in the stacks. You could be listening to the BO Boys in the Amazon. You could be listening on the North Pole. You have access to the BO Boys, and they are. We have the stats. They're listening.
They're accessing it.
Hello. Thank you for listening.
Hello.
But some of those places hear the BO Boys talking about IMAXs, yet they cannot experience an IMAX themselves. And that is sad. And let's get on that movie industry. Let's get on that Matt Damon. Let's fix this situation. But Ant-Man and the Wasp and Quantumania did great on the IMAXs. So good for them. IMAX opening was the third best ever for the President's Weekend holiday, behind what Black Panther did on this weekend and what the original Deadpool did at IMAXs. My God, they got to get this Deadpool 3 out there, because you forget sometimes what a monster at the box office the Deadpool movies are.
Oh, and this one has Wolverine.
I cannot wait. Neither of us, Clayton, we've both become more iffy on the comic books. Obviously, you're not as big into the comic book movies as you were coming out of Endgame in 2019, when you famously touted it as a great film, and you spent an hour podcast just talking about how much you love this film. You've become less of a comic book movie guy since that famous day that was recorded. But you are also someone who I would bet you are looking forward to Deadpool 3.
Oh, I mean, I'm looking forward to the box office of Deadpool 3.
Okay.
I will not see that film.
Okay. You have seen the previous two films in the theater.
I did, obviously. Yes, I did see those. I think I saw them both with you, possibly.
Yeah, possibly, very possibly.
I'm not a big Ryan Reynolds guy. I got burned by Mint Mobile. Something we'll talk about. We won't need to talk about because litigation is still pending. But I'm a little bit over. I'm just a little bit over all of it, So I applaud that it's being made. I applaud that it's going to be R. Because that would have been atrocious for that film.
Right.
And I'm wanting it to have Bafa Bobo because, listen, it's going to bring people into theaters, which is what we need.
Okay. So, but you are still on board with Deadpool dancing memes on meme accounts such as that of Tony Zaret.
Of course. I mean, the way he uses
Deadpool
dancing is just art,
Yes, it
and
is
I am
spectacular.
for art.
Yes. So of course we're all awaiting Deadpool 3. And in the meantime, check out Tony Zaret's Instagram account
Yes.
for great
Now,
memes involving Deadpool. So where do you want to move on to as we sort of wrap up here and wrap up our Ant-Man and the Wasp and Quantumania talk?
well, I think I'm done with Quantumania at the moment. I do
Okay.
think we right now I'm seeing deadline is saying 118 for 4-day here, but that
Okay.
is the
Great.
Sunday right through.
Right.
So let's see if I'm refreshing to see if we have a Monday
I don't think we have
update.
one. I mean, one last thing on Quantumania is it did, despite the B cinema score, which is low, it did hold up pretty well through the weekend. This is not one of those movies that had a giant Thursday night and Friday and then a big drop into Saturday and a big drop Sunday. The audience was steady all weekend. So for the opening weekend, the poor reception has not really affected people going to the theater. You know, we'll
Yeah.
talk on our preview episode whether we think this will fall off a cliff in the second weekend, but it didn't fall off a cliff from Friday to Saturday or Saturday to Sunday.
So let's just wrap everything up with the reason why we're editing ourselves.
Right.
Puss in Boots: Last Wish, which in the 4-day, if you're doing the 4-day rankings, which is what Deadline does, it actually came in number 3.
Okay.
So in the 4-day, it's beating Magic Mike.
Right. But those 4 days are still more estimated than the 3-day.
Yes. So supposedly the 4-day of Puss in Boots is going to be $6.9 million.
Okay.
So it'll be sitting at around 167.7, right?
Right.
And we were texting about this because initially over the weekend, this was going to be the number 2 movie in America.
Right.
And it was going to be down only, it was going to be up 15%.
It was going to be up. I mean, where it ended up was -6%, and that is incredible.
Which is still incredible after 9 weeks.
Yeah.
And you said on your text, just the drum you've been beating is that Greatest Showman.
Months. Yep.
Yeah. Greatest Showman run.
Mm-hmm.
And I am so nearly going to agree with you here because it is so close to beating the number that film came in at, which was 175 domestic.
Right.
It has beaten Sing 2.
Yes.
A movie that a lot of pundits thought this had no shot.
No.
At
After
even
that opening
close to.
After the Puss in Boots opening weekend in December, listen, we immediately said, wait for the legs. This movie's going to have legs.
Yes.
But most pundits were saying Puss in Boots will not even sniff Sing 2's numbers. And it is now, like you said, it has beaten Sing 2.
Pat, there were people who were saying that the opening of Puss in Boots put into question whether they should make another Shrek movie. People were saying that. That was things that actual people put out into the universe.
Right. And they are right now, those people are desperately trying to erase the files, erase the evidence that they said such a thing. I mean, listen, there were people who, after the low opening of Puss in Boots in December, were saying, is theatrical over for kids' movies?
Yeah. Yep.
And now here we are. Puss in Boots went on this Greatest Showman run. It is going to pass the Greatest Showman in the next week or two. That is going to happen, Clayton.
Yeah.
It will happen. And the legs on this Puss have been incredible. I hope this is not the last wish for this Puss.
Oh, it can't be. It won't be. At this point, you got to give them another wish. At least just one more wish.
Yeah. I mean, I've got one last wish, and it's more Puss. Get a sequel to this film out in theaters in the next couple of years. That's my last wish. I think we
all wish for more Puss.
Yes.
So here's the thing about this film, too. Checked out the PVOD prices. Still to buy, still $29.99, and to rent, still $24.99. They know people are paying for this. So this movie is doing Bafa Bobo in the theater and doing Bafa PVOD.
Wow.
And that's the thing about this, is that when the Puss does go on the cock,
Yes,
And
when it
we're all
drops on the streaming
anticipating
service
it.
Peacock. Yes.
We're all anticipating this. It's going to be massive.
Right.
It's going to
Right.
be massive.
Right. 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 Because right now, people, when it comes to the Puss, people are ODing on the P and the V.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Puss is doing great PVOD numbers. So Puss, you know, that action with the P and the V is doing great for the Puss.
Mm-hmm.
And hold off some more on the cock. We were on the cock this weekend, Clayton.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were watching a live streaming event only available on Peacock. So we were on the cock and we did not see the Puss, and we were happy about that. We were happy to be on the cock and not have the Puss with us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. One of the rare times that happy to not see a Puss.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
yeah. Because it's doing so great in theaters. We love seeing it.
Absolutely. So yeah, this is just a masterclass. And I do think we're going to divvy up the millions on this film. We have to.
Yeah. After it passes The Greatest Showman.
And I was going to say, I think that's when we do it, is after it passes The Greatest Showman.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So stay tuned for that. And then listen, Magic Mike was the #1 movie last weekend, only dropped 33%. That's a great mic drop. Obviously, it added 1,500 theaters. It's now at 3,000 theaters in its second weekend after opening in 1,500 theaters. Clayton, we got to do this quickly. I'll let you rant on this or do a mini rant.
It's not even a mini rant. It's just a statement. Is that this is the number of theaters it should have opened at, period. Yeah. It's dumb that they didn't do this. That number, that opening number would have been so much bigger.
Yeah.
And then drop it down to 15 this weekend if you think that the demand isn't there. Yeah. And then you would have a better second weekend. You know, it's like, why is my question.
Yeah, I don't get the weird expansion with a movie like this. This is not some tiny indie movie that you're expanding from 30 theaters to 500 to it. It's Magic Mike. Get all your money opening weekend, put it in 3,000 theaters, and then put it out for 2 or 3 weekends and put it on HBO. It's a weird strategy here, but that said, it had a good drop even with the more theaters, because that meant people still had to go see it, and they still wanted to see it. And this movie is now up to 18 million total. It'll get in the 20s, and it'll be a mega hit on HBO. So good for Magic Mike. Right. I think that's it. We could get to Avatar on the weekend preview episode. We'll talk about where it stands in the all-time list, because it's moving up.
Well, it just be Titanic, and we'll talk about it.
We'll talk about that. So, I mean, Clayton, the switchboard is lighting up now that we've started talking about Quantumania. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have for this episode. You know, we got the next show trying to get into the studio here. You know, they desperately want to start playing the hits of the 80s and 90s, and we got to let them. So
they're already pulling out the cassette carts.
Yeah. We can't stop that. Once that momentum on the cassette carts goes, we can't stand in their way. So we got to let the Z Morning Zoo team in the studio. But for everyone who's on the switchboard, all the wannabe boys, wannabe girls, wannabe people, email us at theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. Let us know your Quantumania thoughts via email, and we will get to them then. So you could hop off the switchboard now, unless you want to make a request for the hits of the 80s and 90s. Otherwise, email us at theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. Of course, subscribe to us on YouTube. Smash that subscribe button, smash that like button. We are now YouTubers, so join us there if you haven't already. And of course, follow us on social medias. The BO Boys the BO Boys Pod is our social media handle. Wanna BO intern Christopher doing amazing work there with the clips and the memes and all sorts of stuff. So follow us there and subscribe if you haven't already on your podcast platform, and give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Write whatever you want in the comments. Subscribe, give us 5 stars. We will be reading Apple Podcast reviews very soon on this show. Obviously, we just could not fit it in with the Quantumania show, and we had Marlo to talk about. So we will get to that very soon. So leave us a 5-star review, write something there, and we'll read it. And of course, I think that's it, right, Clayton? There's nothing else that we talk about before the end of an episode.
Well, Pat, you also have another podcast.
I do have another podcast. So everyone follow me over to the Show Me the Money on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. That is a show that I host with comedy box office star Nick Turner. We are talking the road to the Academy Awards and how to gamble on them. And the BAFTA Awards just happened. So we'll be talking about how our bets went for the BAFTA Awards, for the DGAs. The SAG Awards are coming up this weekend. So we'll be telling you how to gamble your money on the upcoming Screen Actors Guild Awards. So listen to the Show Me the Money on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network.
Gambling problem? Call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY. That's 1-877-8-HOPE-NY, 467-369. Or don't.
Wow. Or don't. Do it or don't. You know, it's up to you.
Don't. Yeah.
Or just
right.
drink some Heineken non-alcoholic beer.
Yeah. We all know where that leads anyway.
Yeah.
So, Pat, I think we did it.
Oh, we've done it.
I think there's nothing left to say.
Definitely not.
Except for we'll smell you at
the
box office.
Nailed it.